For WorkSpan TV, this is Ryan Johnson. In this episode of Research in Brief, I'm going to talk with Kerry Chou, who's a practice leader here at WorldatWork, about the state of performance management, a survey recently released by WorldatWork and Simpson Consulting. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you.
So, Kerry, talk about this survey that we've done now a couple of times, the state of performance management. What are some of the big highlights from 2010?
Well, Ryan, we had about 750 respondents. That was about a 16% response rate. That was good. I think it was gratifying to see that 91% of the respondents said that they have a formal performance management system in place, and I think that speaks volumes to the fact that people realize they just can't they can't just do performance management on napkins. It has to be a really formalized process. On the other hand, we weren't so gratified to find out that some 58% of the respondents, Ryan, gave their overall grade for their performance management system a C or worse, indicating that for all the work that has gone into trying to improve performance management, it's a nut that we don't seem to have cracked yet.
So we still have a very small percentage, I think about 9%, who say they don't have a formal performance management system. And I think it's, again, maybe about 9 or 10% who give themselves like a D or an F, their performance management system.
Right.
What do you say to those companies and to those organizations that are really struggling with this? I mean, what do you attribute that?
Well, we saw a couple of things in the data. First of all, there seems to be a real sense of mistrust on the part of employees when they ask the question, what is the extent to which you trust the performance management system in our organization? Only 30% indicated that they have agreed or strongly agreed that they trust the system. So somewhere along the line there is something that's amiss there and broken. One of the top concerns that the HR people had that responded to the survey in terms of performance management is that managers continue to have a difficult time communicating and having those difficult performance management discussions with employees. And my viewpoint is that the performance management system, you can put in the best system in the world and it can have all the forms and it can be automated and it can just go great. But the manager is that cog in the wheel that is irreplaceable. If the manager isn't engaged and on an ongoing basis working with their employees to set their goals, monitor how they're doing, and then subsequently do an adequate and effective assessment of their performance, the system breaks down. So that was the top concern that HR people had.
Now, you've been in a number of organizations, Kerry, as a senior practitioner. Tell me about the organizations where you've seen performance management really work well. Is it this managerial courage? Is that endemic through the organization? Or what are some of the elements that you see that really work well in an organization?
A recent organization that I worked at, Ryan, really did somewhat of a transformation within a couple of years, and I saw marked improvement in their performance management system. And really the single greatest or biggest factor that was attributed to that is that the senior leadership team started having calibration sessions. And not just the kind where you sort of get in a room and sort of everyone presents their ratings and then you leave the room, but very in-depth, honest, sometimes brutal discussions about their employees with really a sense of we expect a certain performance distribution in our organization, and we're all going to get to it. And there was this calibration that went on so that everyone in the organization was on the same page. And what we were able to achieve with that is year over year, even though we dropped our merit budget 0.5%, the high performers in our organization were able to get a substantially higher merit increase because there was much more discipline in the performance rating allocation.
Kerry, we've talked about some of the challenges that are associated with performance management programs. Let's go back to the survey for a minute and talk about some of the desired outcomes or the results that people said they were looking for through the survey?
First one that came up, Ryan, was a differentiated increase level or a differentiated reward based on the performance management system. And I think that speaks very well to the state of performance management in the way that pay for performance seems to be alive and well. And we certainly, as an organization, encourage other organizations to really put their money where their high performers are. Another one that was important was talent development, and I think that also speaks well because it indicates that organizations are thinking a little bit more broadly, not just about what performance rating are we going to assign to this employee, but how can we help that employee for the future and make them more productive. Another important desire of a performance management system that came out in the survey was the increased level of individual accountability that organizations are expecting employees to take. And I think this, again, is also a very positive because performance management is, I think, often tends to be viewed as a one-way type of proposition where the organization has developed a performance management system and we kind of impose it on the employees. When in fact, the best performance management systems, really, they're shared responsibility. The organization, the managers have responsibility, and the employees have to take responsibility for, what can I do to improve, what skills and competencies do I need to develop.
I know we also asked in the survey, Kerry, about who the champion is of performance management within the organization, and what did the survey respondents say to that?
Well, Ryan, it was kind of a good news, bad news response that we got. The good news is that the chief executive officer made the top two. He was number two, about 22% said that the CEO was the champion. The bad news is he wasn't number one. Of course, the HR executive, the chief HR executive of the organization had about a 60% response rate. And of course, the HR executive, of course, will take the reins, and performance management, development, and design typically resides in HR, so that makes perfect sense. But I think the survey data bears out in terms of management support for performance management. That's one of the key planks that have to be there. And to the extent that your CEO or your top management team relies on your HR team to kind of shoulder the reins and administer it, then the organization, I think, tends to view performance management as kind of another HR process. And people tend to not think of HR processes and strategic business operations in the same light. They don't. We wish they would. So there needs to be more ownership by top management, and I think HR should be a great support. They can develop and design and consult, but really the top managers of the organization, including the CEO, if we really want to have a truly world-class performance management system, the top managers need to take ownership of it.
Of course, the full results of the survey from 2010 and prior years are available at WorldatWork.org in the research section. This is the State of Performance Management 2010, World at Work in partnership with Simpson Consulting. I want to thank Kerry Chou, World at Work practice leader, for coming in and talking about the state of performance management today. And for World at Work and WorkSpan TV, I'm Ryan Johnson.